Hello and welcome to the Creative Academy. I'm Eileen Cook and I'm here today with Crystal and Donna, and we are doing our infamous blue pencils. This is where we have an opportunity to look over your pages and offer you some comments and feedback. It's a great opportunity, so we hope everyone gives it a try. Today we are taking a peek at Elissa's piece, which some people have heard us talk about before. We're dealing a scene just after the last one, so if you're following along, you can listen to that one as well, where Sagaris and Zarina, who are sisters, have found their brother's body. He's been killed tragically by a lion, and where we open up is right there. So I'm going to get us started. Do either of you want to sort of comment on things happening there in that opening first page?
I'll jump in because I have read the previous scene and it's still very clear in my mind. And so knowing that after we just have the I cried in the last scene. So I'm still going to be on edge from that. And this chapter or this scene, I guess this scene just keeps that tension up, which I really think is good. Like, I think that for me as a reader is just like, there is no way I'm putting this down. So
yeah, she definitely did not take her foot off the gas. So that is lovely. And I think it starts with just this oomph in that she's found her brother, and then now she actually has to deal with the loss of her horse. And of course, I'm one of those people, like, I feel it more when the pet gets it. Like, I'm the one, like, I can live with the fact her brother died, as awful as that is, but oh, not the horse. My one suggestion on this is she gives a eulogy for the horse, where she actually speaks to the horse. And that's an area where I think she can tighten up a little bit, because there's such strong emotion. This almost reads like a eulogy that you might write after you've had a chance to get over that initial grief, when you are, wanting to sort of communicate and sort of share that. So for me, I felt like tightening that up will give it a little bit more oomph and a little bit more emotional impact.
Yeah, I think for me as well, there was a paragraph of, Griffin, I'm so sorry. And she's talking to the horse. She fell to the ground and caressed his soft cheek. She had a duty to put him out of his misery, but she also had a duty to her brother. His body was stuck in the tree. So the duty kind of pulls you out a little bit. Like, was it her responsibility? Was she the only one who had the strength to do this because her other sister she knows is not going to be the one to take that on? Is it because her role is what dictates that? Like, just a little bit, because duty is used twice in two sentences in a row, and it's like kind of a removing word. So something that brings it up into the personal, puts us into her thoughts in an emotional way, I think would help there.
I actually took the line out, his body was stuck in the tree, because we know that, like, 3 sentences earlier they're talking about that, and that just, I didn't get stuck on the duty part, but I did get stuck on the repeating, telling us where he was. So just, she had a duty to her brother, guilt pierced her as she turned her back on Griffin. That felt strong to me, that piece. So just taking that little bit out. I kind of like this, and I'm not arguing with your fact the use of duty pulls you out, but I really liked that she's got these two things pulling at her. Her brother's dead, her horse she has to kill, and there's this repetition. She has a duty to the horse, she has a duty to her brother. She's failed her brother, she's failed her horse. Like, it's just like, I can't imagine.
Yeah, there's some really gut-punching emotion in this.
It really is.
Which I think works really well. But I also think at kind of the very end of that page, for me, I want to highlight out again, I think it's a character detail. It's around her knowledge. So she kisses the cheek of the horse, her vision blurs with tears, counting the ribs, she places the dagger over his heart. And so, like, she knows exactly where to do this. And again, that tells us a lot about the place that she's living in, the world that she's living in, and the type of individual that she is. Like, I would have some idea if I, God forbid, I was ever in this kind of situation. Like, I would know, like, oh, I want to stab this thing in the heart, but I would have no idea where that would be, like, other than general chestish area. And I don't think you want me being like, as I try and find that.
And the line that comes after that, we'll bury you with Kobos, may you ride together on the endless plains in the afterlife. That totally choked me up. And, you know, for me, that is the most powerful eulogy right there. Like all of that she tells Griffin before, for me was kind of pulling me out, but the "will bury you with Kobos" and keeping the two connected, the way she's connected the two previously, that's the line that grabbed me as the really powerful one.
And
I
then for
wanted to
me,
see it a little higher.
I'm going to be the stickler. Is I have no idea how she's going to bury a horse, her and her sister. Like horses are extraordinarily heavy. Like, are they going to drag it into a hole? Like, are they going to chop the horse up? Like, honestly, I bumped on that because I was
Really?
like, I have a friend whose horse passed away, and she talked about like they had to get a backhoe in to dig a hole. Like, it's not something that you're like, and this is a war horse. This isn't like a pony. Like, this is a huge
That did not occur to me.
multi-100-pound animal. So that, and again, maybe I think entirely too much about how one would bury a horse, but that was one I did bump on. Other thoughts on the piece as you go along? Things that either worked really well for you or that you bumped?
I really liked the line when we galloped toward a target. I felt like I was flying on a griffin, because it makes that like larger than life, you know, sort of. Yeah, it was just it was a fun image, and it was a nice sort of tribute to how powerful the horse was, all of those things. So I did think that part was just a really well phrased. It communicates a lot in that one short sentence. But I agreed about the paring drastically down the eulogy. And she's mostly seems, from what I know of her, to be kind of a master of understatement. Like, she doesn't go on a lot. She tends to be pretty focused. She might think about a lot of these other things, but she tends to be pretty sparse with her words and be fairly to the point. So yeah, and she's processing all of these other practical sides of things at the same time as the emotion. So that did seem like Donna said, the powerful sentence that had already been or that follows on right after. It slows down the action. It makes it hard to picture what she's doing during that amount of time with just talking. So yeah.
Can I, and you know, it's really funny. I actually crossed out on a griffin. I like that when we galloped toward a target, I felt like I was flying, because his name is Griffin. So to me, it felt like if you're paying attention, you understand that Griffin, like, so anyway, but that's just kind of funny. It's
fair. That's fair.
Different views.
Different views. Yeah.
I am going to say one of the things we've talked about with previous pieces and also with this one with Liz is the relationship between the two sisters. So for me, one of the things that I really liked is as we kind of scroll down, the two sisters have lowered his body and they have this moment where they're like, do you remember this little thing about him? Do you remember this little thing? And for me, that was just kind of this very honest emotion. They're all sitting together, holding their brother who is gone. And there's this lovely moment between the two of them. And then what I like is then they revert to, unfortunately, they're also default, which is not getting along. So her sister makes a comment, you know, if he had a choice, I believe Kobos would have picked death by lion. And she's, I think, saying that truly from the heart. Like, I think she's hoping that it will bring her sister peace. And then, of course, Sagaris has a total pushback against that. And to me, that was that nice kind of give and take of, I think, a challenging sibling relationship where there are these moments where they are closer than anyone can be because they have this shared history. And then because they have this shared history and emotional connection, they can also drive each other crazy in a record amount of time. Now, Crystal, you had another thought about that line around Kobos having a choice and then her response.
Yes. And well, actually it was Donna, I think, who had a comment on that part, but I did also have it highlighted. And I think that I don't know where I was going with that. Donna, say your thing and it'll come back.
So with me, yeah, if he'd had a choice, I believe Kobos would have picked death by lion, Zarina said. He didn't get a choice. His life had barely begun. And so Zarina or Sagaris is yelling at Zarina. I wanted to get into her head for a second, just to have the point of view from inside her head about what she's feeling before she starts yelling at her sister, because that's all I was going to say.
And
To
so
articulate that
that's
better.
perfect. That brought back where my suggestion was actually to take the following paragraph and split that open and put the dialogue in it. So, have the framing of, she thought of the bloody lion carcass. That was all she'd wanted for so long, to kill a lion, feast on his heart, and wear his pelt like Heracles. But, now this monster has killed her horse and her brother. She no longer wants that. She's switching to the reality of things, which is he didn't get a choice. Like now she's in the angry, right? And so that I think would feel like the emotional progression would make sense there.
So you just put he didn't get a choice after, so you'd swap those two.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, I think that does it.
That would work.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a few places where there can be a few tiny little trims, and we've sort of talked about those a few places, but that would be my other suggestion, is sort of look for those. So one of the ones that I highlighted is just before this interaction, and they're talking about the brother, and it says, every time he was introduced to a new relative, he would ask them if they knew his mother. Were they there when she killed the lion? I might cut the "were they there when she killed the lion" line, simply because I'm not sure it adds anything to the piece, so it might just be slowing things down a little bit. And because Scythia has just killed a lion, I think you also run the potential risk that somebody's like, wait, were they there when who killed the lion, Scythia or their mother? So it's just a tiny place where I think you can either make that more clear or consider whether or not you need that line in there.
Yeah. And if we go up a teeny little bit more, searching her memory, Scythia said he was old enough to ride a horse, but not yet strong enough to get on the horse unaided. 5, 6 years old. I really bumped on that one. If the mother's just died, and Kobos, I think, is only 9, right? I believe in the last scene. He's 9.
He was younger.
Yeah, he's quite young. So, which means that the mom died in the last, 3 or 4 years. I would think she'd know exactly how old. I mean, Scythia is someone who pays attention to detail, and she's specific. So I just wanted her to either not say an age at all, or to know how old he was when this happened, because that's a huge milestone in their life.
Yeah, no, I think that's very fair.
And just a question around age markers is, in some world building stuff, age is described as how many seasons or summers or whatever it is that people are marking the passage of time with. And so I haven't read enough of the rest of it to know if that's a consistent thing or not, but just as a world building piece to make sure that if you've described it in another way elsewhere, that matches up to what is here. One more little fiddly thing was after when the raiders are coming, when her sister is calling her attention to that, and it says, "Oh, Hades," if you're going with multiple gods, just be consistent. Are you going to capitalize all of them or not? Make sure you understand, like in that mythology, what the consistency plan will be for that. I mean, she's using it like a swear word. Or like a call to the gods. So, just important to make sure that whatever your plan is for that it's going to be consistent.
And that's kind of one of my last areas where I have like a suggestion to look at is the two sisters are having this fight and the sister yells out Scythia, and she says, "Leave me be, this is all your fault." And Zarina comes back with raiders behind you. I would just like to see her in that moment so that we see. So for example, she says, Scythia, Zarina yelled, her mouth falling, something so we understand that something else is going on. Because when she first says Scythia, Zarina yelled, I didn't have that sense. So in that raiders behind you, I would want to see Zarina so that we know that something has happened.
Do you want to see it there or in the previous one where she yells Scythia?
I think raiders, or I want it to be a little unclear what's happened, but something that makes me go interesting or intriguing.
Where's her body? Like I can't picture where Zarina is in relationship necessarily. Yeah. So what is she doing? Is she scrambling for the nearest tree? Is she, whatever it is that she's doing?
Yeah, like maybe, Scythia, Zarina yelled, she reached for my arm to pull me, or like something where later it's like, oh, she was pulling you because she wants you to notice what's happening behind you. But initially, Scythia obviously thinks her sister's just being a dolt, which is a common thing. But going back full circle to Donna's comment at the start of this piece, there's no way I wouldn't keep reading. Like, you haven't taken your foot off the gas. So they have this moment, and then she's instantly, basically, she's now seen raiders. She's trying to get her sister free, which again, I think is like, despite the fact they fight, she still has this feeling for her sister, and then she's armed. So there's no way I'm not flipping the page after this one.
Yeah.
Any other comments, ladies?
I think very well done. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep her going.
Solid, good track. Lots of
Perfect. All right. Well, that is a reminder for everyone else. We'd love to help you out with your pages. So you can submit them to the Creative Academy in the blue pencil section, and we would be happy to dive in. And big thanks to Elissa, who turned her pages in, and we had the chance to read those. And we look forward to reading more. So thanks to everybody, and see you around the Academy.